Picture it, Los Angeles, 2024.
Welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast you're ever going to need to listen to. I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines.
I'm Kerri Doherty, and today we're doing a Beyond Golden Girls episode where we cover the many film and TV projects that the women did outside of the Golden Girls during the course of their illustrious careers. And today we're watching Betty White's appearance in a 1987 NBC special called ALF Loves a Mystery.
Okay, now let me back this up. Let me explain something here. Let me explain something before we get into anything here. I hesitated to send this to you, Kerri, when I was about to send you this video. Do you know why?
Because it was fucking nuts.
And because
what did you make me watch?
And because I knew it would explode because you had a childhood that I did not have that involved children things that I was not. I didn't do Saturday morning cartoons. I didn't do that shit. I didn't do any of that. So this, I was like, this is either going to make Kerri go crazy or she's going to really be into it. I don't know which direction it's going to go. But I also was like, I was on the hunt for Halloween-y, golden girly things.
It was very Halloween-y. What we watched drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Welcome
to the world of ALF.
I'm very familiar with the world of ALF Shumway.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot. I mean, we'll get more into it, but I wanted to preface this by saying this one is perhaps more of a fever dream than last year over Halloween when we did Rue McClanahan's Witch one, whatever that was called,
where she was a witch. This is more of a fever dream than Rose falling asleep and dreaming about whether or not she should marry Dr. Jonathan Newman. Mm-hmm. I want to set up what this thing is and the purpose of it.
Well, should we take care of business before we do that? I feel like we should.
Sure. Let's take care of business in the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour. I don't have a lot. You and I, we will be doing a live watch along coming up. I think you and I we need to settle on our date, but we will be announcing that on the socials and also on Patreon, where you can vote on. We're going to choose some episodes that kind of feel Halloween-y, as close to a Halloween episode of the Golden Girls that you can get. And you will see the vote, and that will have the date, but it will be coming up later this month.
If you have strong feelings on Halloween-y Golden Girls episodes, comment wherever you can comment on things and let us know, and we'll see it, and Kerri will see it, and
I will see it.
Yeah, and then I won't see anything, and then we'll decide on a couple episodes to vote on.
Yes, so you can do that if you're a member of the GGVIP Club over on patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast. That's in the $8 a month tier. And if you're in the $5 or the $8 a month tier, you're getting an all-new Rusty Anchor Happy Hour tonight, where we are watching and breaking down the Golden Ghouls parody video.
So funny. It's going to be a fun one. You can also go over to our Patreon or outonthelanai.com, and you can sign up to be the first to know when tickets drop when you can purchase tickets for our live show on December 7th at Dynasty Typewriter here in Los Angeles.
Yes, we're doing a holiday Golden Girls show. It is going to be a spooktacular. I'm still in October, but I know that it will be it'll be merry and very bright.
I've been listening to a lot of Christmas music in prep, so I feel very much like a haunted Christmas holiday situation happening in my head.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. That's all. Okay. So I want to talk about this. So this isn't. I was under the impression that this was like a typical episode of ALF that I was watching, that Betty White was guest starring in.
Do you know what this was?
Yes, I do know what this was.
Well, okay.
But go ahead.
No, I was
go
going to
ahead.
say, this served as a promo.
I'm coming in hot.
You are. I was saying, so let's turn down the temperature. It's just ALF. No, this just served as a promo for Saturday morning programming, basically, and to to shore up interest in sort of, it is essentially a commercial.
But here's where it was like a little weird. So first of all, like we said, it's not an episode of ALF. ALF's just kind of like the narrator, and he sort of bookends the episode.
Mm-hmm.
This
with a lot of NBC talent mixed in throughout.
This is what's weird. So it was NBC using actors from their existing shows to promote not those shows, because they weren't playing the characters from the shows they were on. They were using actors from other shows to promote Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, which is, I mean, this wasn't uncommon in the 1980s. So, like, a lot of times, for example, B. Arthur participated in the whole, what did they sing? They sang something from Dreamgirls or something, I think. But it was it was an evening, 30-minute sort of special where talent from primetime sitcoms sang together to sort of promote. They promoted their own stuff, but they also promoted other people's shows. And it was just sort of like, here are the stars promoting what NBC is offering. It's almost like an upfront that's scripted and really weird kind of for Saturday morning, you know?
Yes. So to just run down the list of who was in it from the NBC shows, I'm not going to lie, I haven't heard of all these shows. So Alf from Alf, obviously. Also, Alf was Benji Gregory, who played the little boy on Alf. Shannon Doherty, who was in Our House at the time.
R.I.P.
And R.I.P. to Benji Gregory as well. He passed away. Yes, he passed away earlier this year. It was a very, very sad, tragic thing. I think he sad. Overheated in his car with his dog. It was like incredibly, incredibly sad.
Accident?
I believe so. Yeah. I think
my God. R.I.P. to double.
Yeah.
Wow.
R.I.P. Double R.I.P. And he's so sweet and so good in this, and was so great on Alf. We've got Stephen First from St. Elsewhere, Jack A. from 227. Yeah, and they say this at the beginning when they show their title cards. Danny Ponce from Valerie's Family, Douglas Seal from Rags to Riches, Betty White from The Golden Girls, Heidi Ziegler from Rags to Riches, and then just Mary Wick.
I know that. So, okay, let's first off.
Do you know why they just said Mary Wick and didn't say what show?
Well, because she wasn't really on a show.
No. And do you know why she was in this episode?
Doesn't she voice something on the Smurfs?
Well, from what I read on the IMDb message board from somebody who worked on this, she was a last-minute addition. And so I'm gathering that there was someone from an NBC show that dropped out, and they hired Mary Wicks, who, by the way, plays Mother Superior in Sister Act, and I love her so much in Sister Act.
More than just plays Mother Superior in Sister Act. I mean, Mary Wick is a fucking Hollywood legend. If you know anything about old Hollywood, she of course played Emma Allen in White Christmas, which is incredible, but she was also in an incredibly funny episode of I Love Lucy, and where she played I forget exactly what her character, how it got set up, but she's an iconic actress, character actress. Like literally everyone in Hollywood knew who this woman was just because she was she played Madame Lamond, in the ballet episode, Madame Lamond. And she just in I Love Lucy, just so good.
I like Lucy. No, I love Lucy. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I know that there are Golden Girls fans out there who did the same thing.
She was also the voice. I think one of her final screen things was voicing Hunchback of Notre Dame, Laverne. Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes,
and she was the grandma in Life with Louie as well, and a bunch of episodes of that. So great actress.
Great actress, just fantastic. So this sort of Halloweeny mystery thing it's like a noir mystery episode. It's essentially like the case of the Libertine Bell. There's a group of kids, they're searching for a treasure hidden in an old mansion, and they're being given clues by animated characters in these Saturday morning cartoons as they see little snippets of them, while Jackée and her butler pontificate on ways to kill them. That is what we watched.
I know, it's dark. It's dark. And I love Jackée. I love Jackée much. But
she was so good in this. She was giving it her all.
She really was. And as she should. She's getting that NBC paycheck. She deserved it. But one thing before we get into like the nitty gritty of the episode, and what everything is, Saturday morning or cartoons in general. Now, what was your cartoon appetite at this time?
Out of all the shows I definitely watched cartoons. So the shows that we saw that I watched at the time, like Alvin and the Chipmunks, I watched Fraggle Rock, I watched Gummy Bears. I didn't watch the new Archie. There were some shows that they showed clips from that I didn't watch. I remember watching Inspector Gadget. I watched like Ninja Turtles. I watched He-Man. I watched She-Ra. I watched a lot of anime. I watched Pound Puppies.
That's a, so it feels like
I watched a lot.
With the exception of Ninja Turtles, because Ninja Turtles always felt more like almost teenagey to me. It felt like teenager cartoony to me. When I was a kid, like I didn't care about Smurfs. I didn't care about like the Care Bears or whatever the fuck. I didn't care about
Care Bears.
I didn't care about any of that. That was too juvenile for me.
Sure.
I needed that connection. I needed that connection to a real life thing that drew me into it. So like, for example, like I love, well, like just mentioned Life with Louie. I love that. The Howie Mandel one. What was that called?
Bobby's World.
Bobby's World. I loved Bobby's World because there was a connect. The Roseanne cartoon. What was it called? Roseanne. Little Rosie.
Right. I forgot about that.
So bad good. And I'm Beetlejuice, the Beetlejuice cartoon I loved as a kid.
I probably watched that.
Again, because of the connection to the movie. DuckTales, again, because of the connection to other tales.
Woo!
Like and of course Animaniacs.
Tailspin.
I needed that connection to something real that drew me into it, because I could never really just watch like a Saturday morning cartoon and be like, this is fun. Like that didn't do it for me. I needed something adult about it, you know?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, that your entryway was whatever, because you were an adult kid. You were watching talk shows at a very, you were watching your stories.
With Joan Rivers, Bette Midler, like all of, like I had Oprah. And the fact that like on Animaniacs, they would reference like Joan Rivers or Steven Spielberg or Oprah, or like they would have.
I mean, that was a real highbrow animated show.
Of course,
Animaniacs.
But the thing is, like other friends of mine, kids were watching it. But I had that real world connection to like, oh, I know who Oprah is. And so like, and I would get the joke, or I would get the thing. And it just made me feel really connected.
I love that. I love your Saturday morning cartoon experience. Yours was definitely
sitting there with a cup of coffee as an 8-year-old. Go on, little Rosie.
Yeah, yours was like, you were very particular about you're like, I don't watch just any Saturday morning cartoons. And then me, I was just like, I'll watch anything. And I'm glad you brought up Saturday morning cartoons, because I don't know if you noticed this, but in case anyone watching this special forgets that it's to promote Saturday morning cartoons, characters say the word Saturday mornings and Saturday morning cartoons less than 50 times in this 22-minute span.
Because it's a commercial.
It was so in your face, like Wayne's World, when they like call out the product placement. I was like, this feels like a joke. How often they're referencing Saturday morning cartoons on NBC.
What's so interesting now is because of the way television has changed and the way we watch programs has changed. Do you feel like how do kids watch I know they watch them on their phones and stuff, like, YouTube and stuff like that. But like, there really is no Saturday morning block of programming, like that experience of like Saturday morning, having that be a thing. Every day is Saturday morning essentially for kids now.
Yeah. Everything is on demand, right? So the only thing that feels like an event in our household is when we watch like an Eagles game, when we watch a scheduled football game that's on TV, because little Oreo likes to watch along and she sings the Eagles song. It's really, really cute.
Yeah, I'm not coming over for that, but
no, that's fine. But no, you're right. I mean, it's sort of the, pro con is that we do have all of these streaming apps where I can now introduce little Oreo to, cartoons that I watched when I was a kid. Not quite yet, because I feel like the ones that she's watching are like, they're
little kid.
Yeah. And they're also like, they're really intentional with, like I told you, we watched so much Daniel Tiger because it's Fred Rogers' production company. It's a reboot essentially of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And And it has like that Fred Rogers stamp of everything is just about like love and compassion and understanding and sympathy and curiosity. And they're teaching parents how to parent, even like it's beautiful. I'm like, eventually I'll show her pound puppies. But for now, I'm really excited that she's into shows that I think are teaching her lessons about, you know, being able to have sympathy for someone and like feeling okay with your emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because like
That's
Ninja
great.
Turtles isn't going to teach you that, but I still want her to watch. Like I balance it out. She watched Spaceballs over the weekend, so like you know, there's a balance of.
Did she like Spaceballs?
She ate a whole giant piece of. I mean, she ate a literally like a Ninja Turtle oozy piece of pepperoni pizza while she was just staring at the TV. She wasn't really reacting to it, but
so she's like me.
Sure, yeah, she was just like indifferent,
watching on my phone.
Yeah. So
I love that.
Yeah, I feel like we should.
Let's get into it. We have to break down. I mean, Betty is the star of this for us, but Kerri has many things to say about many other aspects.
I have a lot of things to say.
Yes. So let's get to it.
But we will play Betty clips.
Yeah, of course.
So this NBC Saturday morning cartoon program starts. So Alf he's on a set that kind of, I don't know if it's like his bedroom and attic, and he's writing a memoir on what I believe to be a Commodore 64 computer, but I could be wrong. I don't know. It's old. Because it's the 80s. It's 1987. So he's like writing about his life. And as he's writing and narrating, we start to see like an animated version of what he's saying come to life on the screen. And it's to promote the new animated ALF TV show, of course. Yeah. So then something.
I love ALF.
I don't.
You don't love ALF?
Look, I loved ALF.
What's not to love about ALF?
No, because ALF is tainted for me. I loved ALF when it was on TV. In recent years, I mean, bloopers, I'm using quotes, bloopers have surfaced of ALF using terrible racial slurs, making sexually inappropriate comments to female cast members. This was behavior that was totally tolerated by those in charge, and producers of the show were like, back then it wasn't a big deal. We weren't as PC. He was literally dropping the N-word in bloopers. ALF was. Which is also why I don't feel bad shitting on the shitty ass writing on this special. It was lazy and bad, and I don't give a shit because it just was.
Wow.
But yeah, so ALF is tainted for me because like, fuck that guy.
I get that. Yes. Well, no, correction. Fuck the writers, producers, and the talent behind doing some of the bad things. But don't fuck the memory of ALF, because ALF is separate from he's a deity in a way, not a deity. He's just a, I don't know how to describe it. Like ALF was, and I get what you're saying. Yes, the tainted, yes, but ALF was a massive part of my childhood. When the Burger King puppets came out, oh my God, I stopped everything to go get those Burger King. I have one here in the apartment somewhere. I loved ALF on a level that was like beyond. Like ALF was just everything. And I understand the dark side of adults, and doing inappropriate things what they should not be doing and should be reprimanded. But that said, I also, it's like with Mickey. Do I agree with all of the original Walt Disney's politics or perhaps even his views on some Jewish things? No, I don't. I'm not going to put that on Mickey. You know what I mean?
Well, sometimes you should, because let me ask you this.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. And yes, but I support anyone who wants to completely abandon ALF. But what I'm saying is like the memory of my childhood in relation to ALF is very precious, and so I don't think that is necessarily tainted, and that's what I celebrate when I see ALF.
Got it. I'm glad that you're able to separate it. I actually had a hard time with the way that ALF even behaved in this special, because if you remember when ALF is writing his memoir, the little boy comes in and he's 10 maybe, and he wants Alf to write something about him so he can see it on the TV. And he's like, I want it to be a dangerous, cool mystery. So Alf types on the computer to play some saxophone music, and it starts to play, and he goes, no, something sexier. And I'm like, that seems a little inappropriate to be asking for sexy saxophone music when you're in an attic alone with the boy. I'm just,
I mean, I get, no, I
didn't like it.
I get where you're going with that. I don't think that was, I did not make that connection. I did not get that inference. I did not think it was inappropriate in hearing it or watching it. And that was completely lost to me. Maybe that's because I'm not a parent, but that was not the connection I made in my head. And perhaps I should say, from a journalistic perspective, perhaps take bias out when approaching, how you view certain things, because you don't want bias to be what fuels your reaction with everything in order to be able to give a proper reaction. You know what I mean? Like a educated reaction, I think, or not even educated, a rational reaction.
Okay. Yeah. If I take my bias out I'm just going to I'm going to put on my journalist hat for a second, because he's a PI. So little kid puts his PI hat on. I'm going to put my journalist as an unbiased journalist in this moment. I also thought it was really lame objectively when Alf called the kid a dummy when he asked a question.
I mean, yes, but also too, that was the character of Alf. And I get, yes, in this, maybe now it wouldn't have been, that would not be what how he would communicate. But Alf was always supposed to be that ornery adult in a situation with kids. And like, that was the vibe, that he was essentially he wasn't supposed to be this cuddly character, like he was this cuddly kid character that NBC is now forcing, because there was that blurring of the lines between, this actually is an adult comedy, when they're trying to push it as a Saturday morning kids situation. So maybe the tone of this was maybe too of the sitcom realm and should have been more Saturday morning.
I also think objectively along those same lines, it was incredibly inappropriate when at the very end of the episode, the sexy saxophone music returned as Alf wrote in his script and then made it happen. He wrote himself a date with a 15-year-old Shannon Doherty.
Yeah, but also, yes, that is not fun. It's not fun. I get it.
It's a grown man in the puppet. He's a grown man, and he's writing shit. He writes in his script. He manifests that Shannon Doherty knocks on his door at 15 years old, and they go out they leave for a date.
But the character of Alf is not aged. The character, that the person who's doing the puppet, like the actor voicing is not the.
But he clearly has the voice of a man, even if he is an extraterrestrial.
But I would argue
he's a man.
I mean, I feel like our listeners might even be more divided, but I would argue play it down a line here, because if there's a sourpuss energy for everything, I don't know if I would even want to listen to this full episode. I'm sorry, Kerri Doherty, but
those were I think those were most pretty much all of my Alf talking points. I will point out, I'll bring it up with the butler in this episode. So this all feels very Clue-like. And the butler is played by Golden Girls guest star Douglas Seal, who is so good. So if you remember, he played Sophia's friend, Seymour the Magician, and You Gotta Have Hope. And remember, she wanted him to play in the talent show. And then he plays Malcolm in Twice in a Lifetime, Sophia's new rich roommate, who's like kind of kooky. I didn't know if you knew this. Douglas Seal was a really big part of my childhood, and I didn't even know it, because he did a lot of animated stuff. He was the voice of the Sultan in Aladdin.
Oh, yes,
and like the roly-poly guy. He was the voice of Krebs in Rescuers Down Under, the koala.
We talked about this in the original watch of his episode of The Golden Girls, because that's how I found that out, was that he was the Sultan.
Ah, there you go. So yeah, so then we've talked about this. He was also Santa in Ernest Saves Christmas, which...
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah, so I was like, he was so great.
I loved Ernest. I love Ernest. Again, probably not so appropriate for children, but I loved Ernest.
I don't know. I feel like Ernest to me is sort of up there with Pee Wee Herman, where he just sort of has this like just aw shucks naivete.
No, I get that. I'm thinking some
of
the jokes and stuff probably in it were not. In
Probably.
retrospect, probably not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I hear you. I hear you with that. I did want to play a moment, which do you know that? You know the movie Blank Check?
Yes. Have I seen it? I don't think I've seen it.
Maybe where a boy, a guy with a limo backs into his bike and accidentally writes him a blank check and he fills it out for $1 million. And it's a wish fulfillment movie. So anyway, it was written by Blake Snyder, who wrote Save the Cat, which is like one of the greatest books on screenwriting. I really like it. I really, really, really enjoy all of his teachings on screenwriting, but it's a movie where a boy he thinks he's on a date with an adult woman and they literally kiss on the lips, and it's like, it has not aged well at all. I felt that way a little bit about this little boy. Like the women, Jackie, Betty White, even Shannon Doherty, the women in this episode, when they saw him, it was like, because he's a PI, and it was like when Jessica Rabbit goes to see Eddie and she's like, I need help. My husband needs to do these pictures. So I was like, I had to pull that moment because Jackie is so great. She's a villain, but I thought it was a little wild.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to the clip and then we'll react.
Okay, you tell me.
Then he saw her, his new client, a real glamour puss with a heart of ice.
I am the Countess, Mon Amour. Thank you for coming.
Oh, that was a really fast clip.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the whole premise is she's trying to be exactly like you said, a Jessica Rabbit, like sex pot type thing. And here's the thing I'll say about that blending of having this boy be the detective in this situation and the women around him, and even Alf too, I would argue, playing sort of like seductively, or like they're attracted to him or he's attracted to them or whatever it is. What I'll say on this is, if this were an adult comedy, it would be wildly inappropriate. It would be. In this, having it be very clearly a ridiculous commercial that is what, like a little boy playing a detective and getting the girl and like having the whole thing, and it's just like the older woman who the little boy thinks is really pretty because she has big hair and like big red lips or whatever, and he wants a kiss on the cheek from her, and that's his girlfriend in it or whatever, is just. And I get there's the condition of other things that are horrible things that can be definitely apparent in stories like this. This did not bother me. This is not something that I think needs to be made a capital case. I feel like this is going to go into the woke direction, but I feel like there is a quote unquote wokeness that can be applied to certain things, rightfully so. Brooke Shields' Baby Girl, the depiction of women and how we treat young actresses for the entire history of Hollywood. Yes, 1000% have that conversation. This Saturday morning cartoon involving Smurfs and Betty White getting something stuck on her head and Shannon Doherty like in a 1940s sort of dress. I'm not appalled by this. This is not something that I think is like a horrible depiction of. And I don't know. I'm not bothered by it in any way, shape,
I hear
or form.
you. I will admit, and you and I have talked offline about this. I've had a little bit of a week, and I feel like I feel like I needed to. It's really difficult when you're like going through something and you can't like rage at the person you need to rage at.
Yeah.
So I think I was raging. I think this week I've been raging at the writers and the producers of ALF. So
yes,
I raged at some apologize
bronzer.
to everybody if I am
bronzer the other day.
Yes.
Lots of bronzer.
So if I am I am maybe a little reactive to this.
No, but I think it's okay to be reactive, and I think it's okay to bring those things up. But I also think it's okay to be like, nah, I think maybe that's too much.
Yeah, and this is why we've been friends for 10 years, because we do balance each other out. I will say, when we met Shannon Doherty, the lady in red, who looked gorgeous in a red dress, red hat.
I always forget that Shannon Doherty was a kid actress because I did not know her from Heathers. I was introduced to her from Beverly Hills 90210. And at that time, I think she was like 17, 18. Like she was, she would have been older, actually. I think she probably would have been 18, 19 at Beverly Hills
19, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so like so she was like she wasn't an adult, but she was an adult actor to me. She was older than me. And so I never really saw her as a child actor. So seeing her in this was kind of like, whoa, yeah, she was a child actress.
It also, like, I felt like she sort of predicted two of her future very, very well-known roles in this little moment, because when she met everybody, she said, Charmed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, she's going to be on Charmed. And I was like,
That's
okay, maybe
Michael
it's nothing.
and I say to each other too a lot. Charmed.
You say
sure.
Charmed, I'm Charmed.
We don't know where we
sure.
got it from, but it's there. Yeah.
I mean, it's from, I feel like you could have gotten it from so many things. Then later, all the kids are looking at an Archie comic book, and she goes, I always loved Veronica. And I was like, is she foreshadowing the Heathers right now? Anyway, she said the words Charmed and Veronica, and I was just like, well, she must have manifested that.
Yeah.
So all of the children that are here, and there's one adult, they're all, so Jacquet says, I've called you all here because you're all sleuths or nosy to some degree. And she's like, I've called you here to this creepy mansion with, like, you know, the lightning and the thunder rumbling outside, because a long time ago somebody hid a treasure in this mansion, and she'll split it 50-50 with whoever helps her find it. But once they all run off looking for the treasure, she kind of whispers to her butler, that, like, this doesn't actually matter, the 50-50 thing, because none of them are going to make it out alive anyway.
Yes.
That was so, I'm like, we are killing children on network TV.
Yeah. But then again, that was the 80s. I mean, if you look, you know, some children's programming back in the day, pretty dark. Even some Disney movies, pretty dark.
Oh yeah, Disney movies can be incredibly dark.
Yeah.
So Kid Cameron, that's what they're calling Benji Gregory. That's his PI name. Him and two other kids. I think the little girl, I don't know if you ever watched Just the 10 of Us, but I think she was the youngest daughter on Just the 10 of Us. So first they find a music book on top of an old piano, and that plays a clip of Alvin and the Chipmunks. And every time they play something, it gives them,
promotes one of the Saturday morning cartoons.
It shows like a little clip of a new Saturday morning cartoon, and then there's then they give a clue. The animated character will give a clue of, like, you know, go, you know, find the bookshelf with the red book or whatever, and then they run there, and then there's another animated clip. And at one point, the kid gets a clue about needing to find a woman with a glass eye, which is actually like a crystal ball, and they stumble upon Betty White.
And that is a perfect opportunity for us to take a break. What is in Betty White's glass crystal ball? And how did she get something stuck on her head? And how is it all connected to Smurfs? Oh, we'll find out after this break.
I mean, I feel like the viewers are just chomping at the bit now. We have to play this clip of Betty's introduction.
We have to.
Help! 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 Can you help me? I can't seem to get this thing off. Oh, thank you so much. You know, the instructions said to put this pyramid on your head to increase your cosmic powers. Huh? Where are my manners? You must be Mona's guests. I'm the butler's Aunt Harriet from Bakersfield. Hi. Oh, I'm just passing through myself on the way to a New Age convention in San Diego.
New what?
Well, I have to admit, I'm a little over my head with this pyramid business. I better just stick to my good old reliable crystal ball.
The glass eye. The clue.
Okay. I love that Betty, I can't even imagine Betty White, our Betty White, the queen, the goat, the everything, Betty White playing New Age. Like, I can't.
this is where I feel I'm not bitching the way I was bitching before. Right now, I just want to bitch about lazy writing, and I want to bitch about not utilizing Betty White to her full potential.
Well, I did love. I mean, she was so like. Before you bitch, I'm gonna praise Betty White around kids. So amazing. She says so much fun. The way she interacts with them, it's not like she's playing to them. She's playing with them. And there really is and you can also tell too that like when they yelled cut, she probably hung out with them. She talked with them. She played with them. She was just like, she just exudes this loving, fun energy, even in the little bit of bad dialogue that she's forced to say in this scene. You can just tell she's eating it up. She's biting it up. She's doing all of it.
I like that you're the peach and I'm the pit. I thought it was also very sweet. It reminded me of the episode of The Golden Girls where it's like the marathon and they have all the kids and she's like leading them in a parade with like the little paper hat and doing like Play-Doh and stuff with them. Like, yeah.
And for someone who never had children of her own, I mean, she was a stepmother, of course, but like to have that aura to her, I think is just really telling of that maternal sort of lovely soul that she was, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure out of like all the people that the kids were shooting with that they had so much fun with Betty White. Yeah. I'm with you. Like Betty White as like a new age hippy dippy person, it actually could have been so fun and like something that I don't think I'd ever seen Betty White do before, but like she was wearing like pink sweats. It looked like she had just rolled out of rehearsals from the Golden Girls.
Yeah, it looked like
it was just like, you know, and like, which is fine. Like, but then let her be Rose Nyland. Like the whole shtick was that she was this new age hippy dippy person, but she just had a crystal ball. She had like a thing on her head. I was like, if you're gonna lean into it, lean into it. It just, I don't know. It just, it didn't quite.
All the pieces didn't quite add up. But you know what? Even when all the pieces don't add up, and Betty White is the one talking with kids, and there's like a crystal ball and a chest filled with Smurfs, I'm game. I'll watch.
So they did. I did want to show. So we do have another clip where they look into this crystal ball and it shows a clip of the gummy bears. And so what we're going to show now is it ends on the gummy bears and then it transitions into, they find another clue, which is the Smurfs. And Betty had a joke. I'm dying to know like what you think this joke meant. I could not for the life of me figure out what the joke meant, but let's play the clip first.
And Grammy Gummy doesn't break a promise. Here goes. 3 apples tall and colored blue. Search a trunk for your next clue.
3 apples tall?
And colored blue. Sounds like my last date. No! The Smurfs! Oh, I love those little guys.
And there's the trunk we've got to search. Can we have a look?
Well, I'm not used to a 9-year-old detective going through my private things, but go for it.
So 3 apples tall and colored blue sounds like my last date. This is what it was to me. So this, I feel like, was written very quickly and was written in pieces by perhaps a lot of individuals who just probably wrote it on set that day. There probably was not much workshopping of material in this. And oftentimes in comedy, I'll say this in stand-up, that I have my experience in writers' rooms is minimum because I hated it as much as I hated it. And so I'll say it, I don't know if it necessarily happens so much in there. It does, though, I know. But the concept of saying the common response because it always gets a laugh. So, you know, like sounds like my last date, or could have done better, or I've had worse. Things like that are phrases in which everyone knows gets a punchline. Everyone knows gets a laugh to it. Everyone knows it is a bada boom boom. It's sort of like or bada boom ching. It's like one of those lines that if it follows something ridiculous, it will maybe get a laugh. In this situation, it was a line, in my opinion, that was thrown in that did not make sense. If we're breaking it down, she's basically just saying that she dated a very short, bluish man who probably was suffering from lack of oxygen or something. Like, that's what it sounded like to me in my head, the literal breakdown of it. But it sounded more just like it's a funny sentence that they applied to something that didn't make sense.
Yeah, that's a really good way of dissecting it. I was like, you have Betty White. Like, again, there was we didn't play this clip, but there was also a moment where she looks in the crystal ball and ALF like goes like toe to toe with her. She's basically like, she kind of like insults him. It's pretty funny. So after they see Miss Betty White, who, by the way, was supposed to be, I guess she was playing the aunt of the butler, Douglas Seal.
Yeah.
But that's who she was supposed to be, and that's why she was at the mansion. So the kids get a clue that tells them to look behind a yellow door, and this is where they stumble upon Mary Wicks. And at first they're scared, but then the little kid's like, "Relax, it's just a maid." And I was like, "Just a maid?"
Mary
like,
Wicks, and don't be so because classist. Betty and Mary probably knew each other, and they were having a great time on set together. They were like, "Can you believe we're doing this?" I bet you, Mary was hanging out with Betty, and that's how Mary's even involved in this. Was that?
I'd love to think that she was just backstage, and they're like, "Oh, we had somebody drop out. Mary Wicks, you're here. You're absolutely amazing."
Yeah, and Mary Wicks walks in with Betty, being like, "Oh, I was just hanging out with her today. Sure, you need someone? Give me a costume.
You need somebody? Yeah, sure. I'll fit in the maid's costume."
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I love that. I feel like everybody but the children. It's funny because kids can't work as many hours because of laws, and they have to go to school and stuff. But I feel like they work the most.
And I think Mary Wicks, who's from St. Louis, Missouri, by the way.
Hey.
Mary Wicks perhaps was on an episode of Match Game with Betty White. I believe that is what I'm seeing. So there's maybe even a connection that goes farther back than this that shows their friendship. So I don't know. Who knows?
I could totally see them being friends.
Yeah, me too. But going back a little bit, having a chest in around her, like that line of her being like, "Well, I didn't know I was going to have someone go through my personal items." Like, that sounded like something Betty would say to a group of kids who are like, "Can I look at your wigs?" You know what I mean? Like it just sounded like something.
Can I pet your cat lady?
Can I go look at your Disney toys? I mean, we know from going over Betty's collection of items from the auction that she had a lot of like little knickknacks and Disney stuff. So if a little kid came into her house, she would be like, "Yeah, go have fun, play with everything."
Yeah, go have fun. Yeah, go play. Yeah. Can you imagine being a little kid and going over to Betty White's house?
See, now if I was a kid on this set, if I was a child on this set, I would be interested in Elf, but I would probably be like, "Hey, yo, I'm going to go sit with Betty and Mary. Like, I'm going to go hang out with Betty and Mary. Mary's going to give me a butterscotch," or what is it called? Butterscotch? Is that what they're called?
A Werther's?
Yeah, like a Werther's. Yeah, Mary's going to give me a Werther's, and Betty's going to make fun of Mary for having a Werther's in her bag.
That is 100% what would happen. You would have a really, really good time with them. I mean, it's fun. It's fun when the idea of children being excited to be on set with like an older actor. I feel like that's going to feel like, I don't know, kind of exciting and fun for them. Like, oh my gosh, like this little kid knows who I am. When I worked on Schooled, there's an actor who named Clancy Brown who played one of the teachers. He played the shop teacher. And I knew, because I'm of a certain age, I knew him from Pet Sematary 2 and I think maybe Highlander. But there were these kids on set who one day were like whispering and they were like, "Oh my gosh." And they ran over to him and they wanted to talk to him. And he was like really, really sweet about it. And I didn't realize he voices Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob. And I never watched.
That's funny.
I never watched SpongeBob, but it was really
either.
funny. He's got these like different generations of people coming up to him. But yeah,
funny.
Betty would have been so gracious with kids on set. You know that.
So great. So great.
So they're getting all these clues with animated shows. And then, when they go see Mary Wicks, like she's like, "Oh, I'm not working. I'm actually just watching TV." And she's watching a game show. So this is actually the only cartoon show that NBC is promoting. Do you remember this game show called I'm Telling? It was essentially like the Newlywed Game, but for siblings. Like, how well do siblings know each other? I like vaguely remembered it when they showed the clip.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I did not remember it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was game shows in the 80s.
Yeah.
But so that game show gives them a clue to check an owl by the fireplace, and the kids go over. They like turn the owl. The fireplace opens. It reveals a treasure, like gold chalices, stacks of money. The kids are like, awesome. It's like a real Goonies moment until, Jack Hay and the butler, much like Mama Fratelli and her sons on the Goonies, they basically pop in and they're like, thanks for doing all the hard work. We're going to take the money and put you in a vault forever where you're just going to like die of starvation.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. Which is so funny that I guess the idea, because it's like, well, why couldn't Jack A have just done all of this? But maybe the idea was that animated shows were only going to present themselves to the children, and not grown-ups, maybe?
I don't know. I mean, it was weird. I'll give you that. Like, it was definitely one of those experiences of like, okay, I'm never going to watch this again. This is weird.
Yeah, I'm never going to watch this again.
But I didn't mind the direction of it. It just desperately could have used an actual writer.
Yeah.
Like a real writer who knew who could even reference some of what these people are famous for in a better way.
Yeah. It would have been fun. Like, again, I would have loved to have seen Rose Nyland. Like, it would have been fun if they were playing their characters from their shows, because they weren't even playing themselves. Like, Betty White wasn't playing Betty White. She wasn't playing Rose Nyland. She was playing Harriet, the butler's aunt.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But so just when you think, the children are done in for and they're going to die, Mary Wick's just a maid who's like, I'm actually an undercover police officer. And she arrests Jack Hay and her butler. And she's like, I've been trying to crack this case for months or whatever. And and she, she arrests them. She thanks Kid Cameron and the other kids. And then it turns out all the money belonged to Shannon Doherty, because I guess
why not?
It was like her family's money. And I think, and she gives Kid Cameron a little stack of money for helping.
I wish Betty would have came back at the end, but I understand why she didn't.
Yeah, I mean, she literally took a car from the Golden Girls rehearsal.
Yeah.
They were like, what you're wearing is fine. Yeah. And then she schlepped back home.
I will say the very last line of the last clip that we have is one of my favorite things because it's wild.
Okay, I don't remember the line, but I do remember that this was really weird. So, yeah, let's play the end.
Well, it's the very end of the thing, but it goes in from that to the promo, like when the credits are rolling. I kept the recording of the credits rolling because the announcer promoting other stuff to watch I was obsessed with.
Oh, I don't even know if I watched that. Okay, let's listen to it.
Can we just play? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I keep the coat and hat to remember my adventure?
Sure. Better yet, tune into NBC Saturday morning, and you'll see all the friends who helped you out in the shows of their own.
Alf, you're the greatest. Now I can't wait till Saturday.
You ready for our date at the beach, Alf?
Is that who I think it is?
Some things, kid, are just too good for words alone. I'll see you Saturday morning.
Saturday mornings are made just for kids and having fun. So don't miss all your old friends and some new ones tomorrow morning here on NBC. And on Sunday, don't miss the season premiere of Our House, when a big bad earthquake threatens the very existence of the Witherspoon family.
When a big bad earthquake pushes trouble. What did they say? The very threatens the very existence of the family. If I had heard that as a kid, that a big bad earthquake was going to come threaten my existence, like that was the scariest part of the episode for me.
That's so funny.
And that was a promo.
I mean,
crazy.
Yeah.
This So this is officially, because I mean, we lack in Golden Girls Halloween content. And
I
so
know, we're doing our best.
this was definitely one of the scarier ones, if you think about it, but not for anything that's actually scary, but because of the writing.
Yeah. Yes. There was nothing scarier than the writing in this weird promo. I will recommend to people. It's on YouTube. We'll link to it. I mean, watch it. It's just weird. It's just weird.
It's weird.
You know, it's weird. You know, it's when we like to watch non-Golden Girls things starring the women, starring Betty. Like, this isn't, you know, I'm going to tell you to watch her in, you know, The Proposal over this, or Hot in Cleveland over this, or Lake Placid over this.
I'm going to tell you to watch her in the Snickers commercial over this.
Yeah. But if you're like, oh, I want to like have friends over and get high and like watch something real weird.
This is it.
Watch this. Watch this. If you've already
do the
watched...
double feature. No, do the double feature of the witch one from Rue, and then this, and then just make sure you're blackout by the end of it.
Yeah, and then when you come to, watch the episode of Punky Brewster where they get trapped in a cave, and
okay, now you're going down the road. Now you're going
now I'm going down a road.
We need to take a break and come back with our golden takeaways. I can't wait to hear yours. I cannot wait. And we are back with our golden takeaways, which is a nugget of truth or inspiration that you can apply to your life or the lives of our listeners. Kerri, I'm eagerly awaiting your golden takeaway for this episode.
I had to write it down so I would remember it. My golden takeaway is, don't ever do this again. What's your golden takeaway?
My golden takeaway from this is that I really want to go back and watch like Beetlejuice and stuff, the cartoon versions of those. I think they're all on Disney Plus or whatever. But like watching this, I just kept thinking about Saturday morning and like Saturday or little kid cartoon things that I would watch. And I kind of want to go watch Animaniacs and stuff, like Little Rosie and like Bobby's World and like, you know, Life with Louie and all those ones that I really enjoyed as a kid. So I might go check that out sometime soon.
That's fun.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah, go back and watch old cartoons.
Thanks, Betty. Thanks for inspiring me, Betty.
Yeah. Thank you, Betty.
Oh God, that was fun.
That was fun. I promise I will not be as negative in next week's episode or in tonight's Rusty Anchor happy hour.
You weren't negative. You weren't negative. You're just expressing your truth.
Sure. Yeah, I get it though. Oh, but thank you all so much for joining us and being part of our Golden Girls community. And remember, you can check out the GGVIP Club at patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast, where you get ad-free episodes, video versions of every episode the day that they drop, tons of bonus content, tons of bonus interviews with cast and crew, and Cindy Fee, the singer of the Golden Girls theme song. So much great stuff. And you can join us for a once-a-month live watch-along of the Golden Girls on Zoom. We have so much fun, and we'll be doing one again in these next few weeks.
And make sure you sign up to get tickets for the show on December 7th at all the places you can. And we're a part of Mom, Moguls of Media, so go support Mom Plus, and you can follow us on social media at Golden Girls Pod on Twitter, out on the Lanai Official on Instagrables, Golden Girls Pod on the Facebook C's, and I am HAlanScott /Sadie Pines on everything.
And I am Squid Eat Squid on Twitter and Squidsy on Instagram. And if you want to do something else nice for the podcast, you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get it, because it really does help people discover our podcast and grow our community of Golden Girls fans.
I'm doing the Valerie Cherish bow. Yes. And remember,
as always,
stay golden.
Everyone except for ALF.
Oh, God. Smurfs are terrifying.
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Wick Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.